All right, guys, so it's day number 8 in our trigonometry unit, and I'm just going to be kind of putting everything that we've done on Monday and Tuesday this week together to try to solve a right triangle. And what that means is to find everything in the triangle that we do not know. So, like, for example, in this question, I know an angle and I know a side. Well, what I want to do is I want to find the other angle and the other two sides. So the first step in the process is for us to find the missing angle. So in this case, we want to find out what angle A is. Okay, we're going to find out how big is that angle. So in order to do that, we know that a triangle has 180 degrees. We know one of them is 90, so we're going to take 90 away from 180, and then we're going to take 36 away. So we get that missing angle to be 54 degrees. All right, so step 1 is to find the missing angle. Step 2 is to identify the opposite side, the hypotenuse and the adjacent side in the triangle to the angle that we originally knew, which we knew angle B. So in this case, we know that this side is your hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. To angle B, this side is your opposite side, and then that side is your adjacent. After this, what we're going to do is we're going to identify the side you want to find. So in this case, I want to find the adjacent side. Okay. All right. So once I want to find my adjacent side, I want to identify the trig ratio you want to use. So I know my adjacent side. I want to find my adjacent side. I know my hypotenuse. So in this case, what trig ratio am I going to use if I know my hypotenuse and I want to find my adjacent? O and A, or A and H goes with cosine. So I'm going to do the cosine ratio. After I find that out, I'm going to set up the cosine ratio. So cosine of the angle, which is 36, is going to be equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is going to be the adjacent side, which I do not know, over 6. After we do that, we're going to solve it. So remember, we're going to cross multiply. So we set it over 1, and now we're going to solve it. So I'm going to take 1 times A equal to 6 times the cosine of 36. And we're going to, you can use the Desmos calculator if you guys want to, or your own calculator, but 6 times the cosine of 36 is 4.9. So we get the A to be 4.9. Okay? All right, so after we do that, that 4.9 corresponds to BC, which is this length right here. Now we want to find the other side that we do not know by using the Pythagorean theorem. So if you guys remember, it's leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So in this case, it's going to be 4.9 squared plus, we'll just call it like y squared equals 6 squared. So 4.9 squared is 24.01 plus y squared equals 36. And then you guys get y squared to equal 11.99. So you guys get the missing side to be 3.5. Okay. All right. So let's look at one more. Okay. In this case. All right. So it's the same idea. We want to find the missing angle. So we have 53. We have 90. So I'm taking 180 and subtracting 53, and I'm subtracting. Sorry, I'm trying to 92. Sorry, that missing angle is going to be 37 degrees. Okay. All right, so after we do that, we identify the opposite and hypotenuse side to it. Okay, so we're looking at angle B in this case. This is your hypotenuse. This side is your opposite, and then this side is your adjacent. All right, we want to identify the side we want to find. So just to spice things up, what we'll do is we'll find out this side right here. We'll find the opposite side. Okay, so then we're going to identify the trig ratio you want to use. So we have the opposite and we have the hypotenuse. So what we're going to use is we're going to use the sine ratio. Okay. All right, so we're using sine. After that, we're going to set up the ratio. Sine of 53 equals the opposite side, which I'll call x, over the hypotenuse of 8. Okay, now we're going to solve it. Solve for x. We're going to cross multiply. So we have 1 times x, which is x, and then 8 sine 53. When we do that, we get x to be, when I plug it into the calculator, I get 6.4. Okay, so we know that this side is 6.4. We want to find out what this side is. We'll call it y and use the Pythagorean theorem to do that. So we're going to do 6.4 squared plus y squared equals 8 squared. We got 40.96 plus y squared equals 64. Y squared is going to be 23.04. So you get y to be 4.8. Okay. All right. So your job, guys, is I'm going to give you a question. I'm going to ask you to kind of follow this plan to find some missing angles and sides. All right. So what if we know two sides and we got to find the two missing angles? So what we're going to do is we're going to find the missing side using the Pythagorean theorem. Okay. All right. So this is your hypotenuse and these are your two legs. So we're going to do 8 squared, we'll call this x, plus x squared equals 13 squared. And then we're just going to do x squared. So I got 13 squared minus 8 squared, which gets me 105. If I take the square root of that, I get x to be 10.2. Okay. All right. So after we find that missing side of 10.2, you want to identify the angle you want to. So I want to find, we can choose any side. I'm just going to choose angle B because that's the first one I saw. All right, so after we do that, now we want to identify the opposite, the hypotenuse, and adjacent based off that angle. So this is your adjacent, this is your hypotenuse, that's your opposite side. After we do that, we're going to try to identify the trig ratio we want to use. So based off the fact that I have the 8 and the 13, I'm going to be looking at my adjacent side and my hypotenuse. So I'm going to be using cosine. Okay. So since we've already identified that we're going to be doing cosine, we're going to set up the ratio. So I'm going to go say cosine of B equals the adjacent side, which is 8 over 13. Now, what we're going to do is use the inverse to find the missing angle. So if you guys remember yesterday, we talked about using cosine -1 of the ratio to find out what that missing angle is. And I get angle B in my calculator to be 52 degrees. So once we know that, now we can just find out that this is 52. We're going to find out what angle A is by doing 180 minus 90 minus 52. And we get angle A to be 38 degrees. Okay? All right. So let's look at this next one here. These are all in your notes, guys, that I shared with you. So first thing that we're going to do is use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. So 12 squared, this is your hypotenuse, equals 7 squared, and we'll call this x, plus x squared. And we'll get x squared to equal 95, which is 9.8. So we know, 9.7. 9.7, I read something wrong. 9.7, okay. All right, so we found out that this side is 9.7, and we're going to try to identify the angle we want to find. So I did B last time. Well, let's do A this time. Okay. All right. So we're looking to look at A, and then we're going to try to identify the opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent side. So this is your hypotenuse. This is your opposite. That's your adjacent. All right, so set up the trig ratio. So I'm going to be trying to identify the ratio that we're going to use, which in this case is opposite and adjacent. So we're going to be talking about sine of the angle is going to be equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is 7 over 12. Okay? All right. Now we're going to use this sine inverse to find the angle measure. So A equals sine -1 of 7 over 12. So you guys get that to be 35.7 degrees. Then we're just going to find that missing angle. So we got this to be 35.7. We're going to take 180 minus 35.7 minus 90. And you guys get angle B to equal 54.3. Okay, so I have a couple questions in which you guys are going to be asked to find the missing angle for me and all the missing side. Well, one missing side, two missing angles. All right, hopefully this helps out. Have a great day.